Hi, welcome to Sacred Intelligence TV. I'm your host, Dr. Terrell Curry Avery, and I'm joined today by my co-host Susan Bainbridge, and our guest today is Camilla Ross. Camilla Ross is a theater producer. Actor Alan Rickman says that actors are agents of change. A film, a piece of theater, a piece of music, or a book can make a difference. It can change the world. Camilla Ross is a change agent. She comes to us today with over 30 years of experience in theater, and she is the founder of Emerson Theater Collaborative. Camilla is helping to shape Eastern Connecticut with her work of professional creativity with theater and producing. She's done such plays called Doubt, introducing Mr. Charles Dickens, Harriet Squared, The Big Bank, which is a musical, and it also debuted in New York City. And she is also involved in the I Am Worthy Suicide Prevention Project. There's a lot to learn about Camilla Ross, and we hope that she will share with us a bit more about her plays today, but her vision for the future of her plays, and let us in a little bit on how she got started with doing theater and how it helps to shape her sacred, selfish, and shared relationships. So I want to thank you, Camilla, today for joining us on our program.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So we're going to just jump right in, Camilla.
Okay.
We want to know all about the Emerson Theater Collaborative, and one of the first things that I always ask my guests is, how did you start doing the work that you are doing?
How did I start? I was 12.
Mm-hmm.
Being 12, and we have a great imagination at 12, and so growing up in Massachusetts with 6 other brothers and sisters is a lot, and so being able to have that imagination so young is a wonderful thing. So I grew up knowing that I at 12 wanted to do theater, not sure what I wanted to do per se, but I knew I was good at it. Mm-hmm. I knew I had a great memory. My father said I could remember where everything was. And so I attribute that to being born small. Mm-hmm. I was born 1 pound, 15 ounces. Mm-hmm. So in 1963, and so I attribute some of the stuff that I have within me due to that, my creativity and all those wonderful things. And so when I was 12, that was my journey, my beginning journey of wanting to create. I enjoyed performing for my dad and, you know, just creating things. And so that's how I really got started being 12. And I did my first play in high school. Mm-hmm. And then I stepped foot into Emerson College, and as a theater performing arts student, and began to experiment and just hone my skills.
Mm-hmm. So I want to know a little bit more about your theater collaborative project, but now you've just said a few other things that were very interesting, because I wonder if we're speaking to young people out here. You're saying as early as 12, I began to know that I was sort of called or channeled. You didn't use the word called, but like this was something that I was very passionate about. And so you stepped out on that, and in high school you began doing your own play. Did you say you wrote your own play?
No, we did a high school play.
You did your high school play. So I'm really curious about that for young people. How do you just be committed to the passion of art and plays and producing and music or entertainment, whatever it is?
For me, it lays on the parents, watching their children develop and watching what they're good at and what they enjoy. That is the key. What does the child really enjoy doing? Mm-hmm. Are we active listeners in their lives? And so for me, my dad was an active listener. Yeah. Just watching. And so the things I could do, he would help hone those skills. He gave me books for reading, anything that I wanted to read. My thing was comic books, so it was great. Yeah. And so I was nurtured that way. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so for me, it felt like it was innate.
Mm-hmm. So it's really important for parents to pay attention to their children.
Oh, absolutely.
But I will tell you as a parent, and I'm sure that Susan could speak to this too, and you as a parent, being able to discern the things that you should really invest in, because sometimes kids are, I like dance, or I like sports, I like singing, I like playing the piano, in terms of trying to figure out where do you nurture, what parts do you nurture, because they could be all over the place. So how is it that you hone in on that one particular thing. What was it about acting or producing that your dad saw that was different from any other activity?
I was different when I did it.
Okay.
There was a light and airiness to me as a being. You know, I smiled more, I was happy, I was content, I wasn't in the mischief.
Okay. Were you at the other times you were into mischief?
Yeah, I was a busy child. And so I really enjoyed it and being creative. And I mean, anything, coloring, anything that was creative, I really enjoyed. So he knew, you know, then that I was a very creative being. And so he nurtured me that way.
Okay.
The rest of them were nurses.
Okay.
So he picked up on that.
Okay.
They're nurses, veterinarians, dentists in my family. You know, it's like, really? And here's this child that, you know, is on the other end of the spectrum. And so it was nice. But the imagination was something that, you know, could be a lot.
So I think that this is really interesting because from a parent's perspective, you really are talking about knowing your kids. That's not what today's show is about, but that's really what you're bringing up, is that how important it is for us to hone in on
We need to know our kids.
Yeah.
Because they know us.
Oh, they most certainly do.
Oh,
but that's another show, so we won't get into that show today. But tell us a little bit then about the Emerson Theater Collaborative, how that came to fruition and you began to nurture it more. I know you started from when you were younger being in love with the theater, but to found a theater project is pretty significant.
I mean, for me, it started back in 2008. I went on an audition, and the director had told me that she didn't like my characterization of what I put forward, you know, of the character, how I developed her. And, you know, I said, well, doesn't an actor have a say? She said, no. She said, I'm the director, and how I want you to perform is how I want you to perform. Mm-hmm. There was no room for creativity. There was no room to experiment.
Sure.
And I said, this is not what I want to see for me. I don't want to do a show where I have no say. I don't want to do a show where I don't have any input or any involvement.
Right.
Like, we need to have more than one person, you know, when you're creating something. So more heads together is a wonderful thing. And so I went home and I talked to my husband and I said, you know, it just doesn't sit right with me. And I wasn't seeing the type of theater that I wanted to see in the region. Things that move people. I mean, doubt.
Yeah.
That, for me, move people. Mm-hmm. And so when I read it, I really wanted to play the role of Mrs. Miller.
Yeah.
That was, you know, it for me. Yeah. But I ended up not being able to do that through this other company, and so I decided to get together with a couple of friends, one from college and one that was a local playwright named Lisa Giordano, and we created Emerson Theater Collaborative in 2008, and we started out with Doubt.
Yeah. Wow.
Yes.
That's powerful.
And so with the help of Union Baptist Church, mm-hmm. They allowed us to put it on there, mm-hmm. and it was very unique because we did it on the altar.
Yeah.
And we put the patrons in the choir loft.
Wow.
So that they're looking down, and it was very intimate. And I got a college friend named Albert Kremen mm-hmm. to come and direct it. Mm-hmm. And so it was a wonderful experience, and I knew then what we had was so important because the show was packed and people were moved.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, one of the things I'm thinking about as you're talking about this, you said 2008.
Yes.
So that means that you had a career before
yes.
forming this. And so could you speak to us a little bit about what it takes to decide, you know what, this is something I'm passionate about, something I want to do. So speak to us about creating the time to do the thing that you love to do. And I believe from the conversations or the information that you also sent before the show, that you said it's like a higher calling to do this. So can you talk to us a little bit about
I took a detour. And don't be afraid to take a detour. After college, in order to get through college, I joined the National Guard before leaving college, and I did that for like 7 years so I could pay for my college bills. And so I did that for a while, and then I joined the Navy, you know, after that. So I took that little detour, but all while doing those things, I kept my soul in that, because that's what resonated with me. So staying creative and being in that process always You know, because it's innate. Like I said, it's something that's within you, and you know without a shadow of a doubt that this is what you're called to do. And I think I can talk later about knowing, however we want to say it, whether it's creator or source or whatever. There's something that resonates when you create, and all that comes out of that all sits in place the way it should.
Well, one of the things that we are really big on is being in touch with, we call it the sacred, I call it God, but for the purposes of a larger audience, I speak to the sacred and being in touch with that inner being in order to make those positive choices and intelligent choices about your life. And so what I hear you saying is that it's already deep down in there, and just paying attention to that, and you held on to it. And it seems like it was something that just called you all the time. It spoke directly to your spirit.
It spoke to me. I mean, like I said, I even deviated from it. I even ran from it.
Well,
I did. I mean, I joined the Navy, I did the Guard, I did so many different jobs. I was running.
why?
Because I was afraid to face what I knew I should be doing. And a lot of people go through that, but they don't want to air that. I'm not afraid to air that. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to not know where you're going. But there's something about the sacred, as you call it, that just, it kept calling me. And I was running. I'm like, well, you know what? You need to stop running because we're just going to do this right now. And I had a theater company prior to this one. And I said, you know, I'm really enjoying this, but I don't think I'm ready for it. I didn't think I was ready for it. And in 2008, that just changed.
Well, I think you're speaking to something important, is that sometimes we aren't ready for what we're called to do, but it's there.
Right.
And the timing, you'll know when it's time for you to just step out there. But
Yes.
but then in other cases, we can also waste a lot of time because we're running so much.
I'm thinking, as we're talking about this, that you speak very matter-of-factly of this, and how it was there, and how you knew, and how it resonated with you. And I can't help but think, well, here's a very fortunate person. Because certainly in the work that we do, every day I have people coming to me saying, I am so lost. I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing, or which direction I'm supposed to be going, or what even I want to do. And helping people unravel that can sometimes be a very difficult and sometimes even unsuccessful process.
But I would have to say one of the things that I ask people to do is really about what does speak to your very soul and your very essence. What is the thing that you've been most happiest at with
Sometimes you have to sit with yourself. Be with yourself. Too many people are afraid to be with themselves. I love me. I like sitting with me. And I've learned that as I got older. It wasn't something that I just came about one day and said, oh, you know, it was a learning process. But learning to sit with yourself and really allow yourself the freedom to say, this is who I am, this is what I like, this is what makes me happy. And you go with that. I write. Writing, you know, sometimes I get up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning because stuff is in my head, you know, that I need to get out, and I find that there's patterns in my writing that I write, that I know that I need to create something. And so it's knowing who we are as beings.
But I think that people don't really know who they are because it goes back to that place of fear.
Right.
Because we got all this other
Yes.
stuff that we have to deal with. And if I sit by myself, if I sit with myself, which really you're sitting with the sacred, then I've got to deal with me. And most of us
people
don't
don't.
want
We
to
don't
do
want to deal
that.
with ourselves.
But I think that it's in the dealing with ourselves that the best of ourselves come out of
Absolutely.
that. Because if you even think about the plays that you've written or the work that Susan and I do, it's all been a stepping stone. Whatever the good is, the bad that you've had in your life, I mean, it's just stuff that helps us to become better at who we are.
Yeah, we grow.
You know, I'm thinking about when I was, I had to do a chaplaincy for a short period of time, and I remember there was a question at the end of the whole program about what experiences have you had that's helped to shape you and to make you a better chaplain. And I had to really kind of sit with those and to write about those. You know, we go day to day and we deal with whatever stuff is going on in our lives, but had it not been for some major events that were pretty crucial, they helped me to be able to identify with the clients there or the patients.
Absolutely.
And even with the work that Susan and I do, I'm sure we can identify with our clients because of our lived experiences. So when you're writing, I imagine in producing, you're there in that place with the characters. And maybe that was what was so important for you with creating who you wanted your character to be. You had to feel it and to be in that place. Otherwise,
I need to know
it's
who
phony.
I am.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm creating a character, I need to know who I am through that character.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I give my actors, I give them an exercise that they need to write a bio about themselves as the character from birth until adult.
Wow.
You know, and so to getting in that process of you know, creating a character that resonates with you, the actor, too, because you share that as a common bond. And so for Emerson Theater Collaborative, what we do is we bring in those things that are real, and we all live them, and we just expand on them, and we allow people to come in and be who they are. And share in that creativity. Everybody, right down to my lighting designer, has a say. It's so important that we all share that common bond of having our say about what's important and what's creative and what makes it look better, what makes it sound better, what makes it move, what makes you move when you look at it.
Right, because you want to touch your audience.
Right.
And you want them to be changed when they...
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about, you know, when you start a business, you start a company, they're the ups and downs of it. So what have been some of the highlights of, you know, obviously when you do a great play, that's a highlight, but what have been some of the highlights of just really tapping into your own creativity and who you are and seeing that come to fruition, but what have also been some of the downsides of it? You know, when you do your own business, there's always the financial piece you have to worry about, the people you hire, all those other things. Can you talk to us a little bit about owning your own company? And I think particularly as a woman, what have been some...
I got a lot of help. I had a lot of help. I think for me, it was not my intention to, you know, keep it this long or even be at the helm of it, should I say. But I just found that it was my time to sit and create. And when my time is no longer that, somebody else will come and sit and create. But for me, being a nonprofit, having the help of community partners to help. I mean, the Community Foundation, State of Connecticut, the Southeast Connecticut Women's Network, Puffin Foundation, the Mystic Rotary, all of those people had a hand in growing this business. I have an amazing board of directors who supports and enhances what I do. So when I'm ready to create, our last project was Our Father by David H. Greer, about a young boy named Victor who was searching for his biological father. The play was extraordinary. The actors were amazing. The message was even deeper. And to be able to see people sitting in that audience of a packed theater and watching them view it and watching their body language and all of that was probably the most wonderful thing I could see. And having we did another show called Court Martial at Fort Devens, and having a woman sit there and tell me that it changed her life.
Yeah.
Thank you for changing my life. Thank you for opening my eyes to what I was afraid to see. And it changes you as a person. It changed me as a producer. It changed me as an actor. I mean, I play Harriet Tubman in a play written by Lisa Giordano called Harriet Tubman's Dream. I believe that Harriet Tubman is deeply a part of me. She is so embedded in me, and I channel her when I perform her. She has become a part of me, and I believe we do channel that which has come before us.
Well, I think that we are all, we're one, right?
Yes,
you know,
we are.
Sweet Honey in the Rock, they sing a song about we are our grandfather's dream
yes.
and all of that. You know, we're the breath of the ancestors. We are the spirit of God. And so we sit here on the backs of all those who've come before us. And I do, like you, believe that they are a part of us. And
They really are.
I wonder, though, what would you tell a young actor or actress or producer, someone who's starting out? What would you tell them about the triumphs and the trials of doing this work? You know, you said that you have a wonderful support team, but that didn't happen overnight. So I imagine there was some work that you had to do to get this going.
Yeah, I had to learn to trust. Trusting is so important. You have to learn to trust you, believing in what you are capable of doing. It doesn't matter what someone says you're not capable of doing. Know that you are. And when you start believing in who you are and what you're capable of, it comes to fruition. It comes because you will it, because you're working towards it. And I see it. I'm a visual learner. And so when I see something, I know exactly what I'm seeing. And I know how I want it to be. And if it's not the very best that my patrons deserve, I don't produce it. Mm-hmm. I don't allow them to see that. I want them to see the very best. And so for my young people that are coming in, learning to trust who they are, believing in themselves, and loving themselves regardless of what someone says.
So that's a challenge, right, Susan? I mean, that's the thing that we work with all the time, getting people to love themselves and to trust who they are is not an easy process. And so one of the things that I do when I'm working with people is to sort of get them to just take a look at the things that they've been successful in doing, the things that they've not been, pointing out the positive things to them so that they know that, wait a minute, everything isn't all negative. You're just focusing on the negative, but that is a long process. So I would tell people to go out and get the help early on. You know, if you know that you're doubting yourself and you're not trusting yourself, listen, we all go through a phase that sometimes say, can I do this? Really, am I going to be able to do this? But if you hold on, first and foremost for me, if you connect with your sacred source to know that your sacred source is there to help you, to guide you, to get you through this, but then also just trusting in yourself by doing the work that you need to do to get over those fears, because there are all sorts of people out here willing to help us. And those very people who are willing to help us are also people who've had their own fears and can say, listen, I've been there, done that. And I think one of the other things you have to do, particularly I want to just, make sure that our viewing audience know this, is that you have to be willing to be vulnerable. And you have to be willing to trust those people who are there to help you. And I would imagine you had to do a bit of that too in terms of trusting those resources.
Yeah, I do. I mean, and in that trust comes respect. Because you need to respect those, those resources that you have, and it's so important. I also want to say that I think our youth need to know that it is okay to fail. Failing does not mean that you've lost. It means that you've won. Because once you stand back up and you go back at it again, that is the triumph that you get. It is okay to fail. It is okay. It's okay to not be good at something, because you may find as your journey goes, you may find exactly what you're good at through another area. Yeah. And I want them to know that that is so important, that you have not failed. You still need to keep going. Because if I listened to everything as I did as a child, where would I be now? And learning and growing through college, and how kids can be growing up. They say, well, gee, that's a rite to passage. No, it's not. No, it's not. What it says is that we're human, and we're able to make mistakes, and we need to learn from those mistakes. And it's okay to make them. And you're not going to be good at everything, and that is okay.
Well, and I think what's important, I know that Susan and I, we were talking about the movie Selma before coming over. Sometimes things are just a temporary, setback as well, because the producer of that, Ava DuVernay, the director of that, when she did, I believe it was her first film, it wasn't a huge success, and she sort of put it on the shelf, and then she did her second one, and it got a little bit more notoriety. But ultimately, Oprah Winfrey had I think she saw either the first or the second one and was so impressed by it. And now who's the executive producer of Selma? So all it takes is one person with a little bit of notoriety herself, right? But all it really takes are those people who believe in you. And so I don't think we're ever going to be able to do anything and come out of the box. I mean, it's very rare that people, their first attempt at anything is just so magnificent. And so I think we have to really be willing to put ourselves out there, and if it works, it works. I mean,
we have to do that. I mean, this last show called Our Father by David H. Greer, and here's our connection on 6 Degrees. David H. Greer is the playwright of Our Father. When we first did the reading, we had E. Roger Mitchell come, who was in Hunger Games, who was also in Selma, come and do the reading for this show. And as the process went along, I got to meet so many other people through this young man, and he trusted me enough to direct and produce his work. And that to me says volumes. You trust me and I want to do the right thing by you and making sure that the piece comes out the way it should. So trusting, is such a key thing. And I've failed before. And I'm going to fail again, but it's not the end of my world.
I think, I was kind of smiling as you were talking about wanting to encourage young people, but of course anyone, that not to be afraid of failure. And I think that our society has not done a great job of that. And certainly that's a message that I think all of us need to hear more often is it's worth trying. If there's anything that you're interested in, try it. And as you said, Teralyn, the likelihood is that you're not going to be good at it your first try, but you look for the things that spark something in you. And so what you were saying about okay, so your children may be into 53 different things and involved all over the place. And how do you help, hone in on something? But I think it's wonderful for kids who have ability and opportunity to try as many things as they possibly can. Mm-hmm. Because how else will they know? Will you find?
Mm-hmm. And they'll tell you. Mm-hmm. They will show you what they're good at, and they will show you just how much they're enjoying it. Mm-hmm. You know, mm-hmm. For me, my son, he is a brilliant artist. He's gifted. I don't want to do that, Ma, he says. Okay, what would you like to do? He says he plays the drums. He's good at it, you know. And he's going to be 23 this weekend. I said, well, what is it that you really want to do? Okay, Ma, I'm going to play the drums.
So, and believe it or not, you know, he'll find something creative to do with that. Sometimes we'll think, well, what are you going to do with that? But
absolutely,
if you're passionate about something, you'll find a way to make it work for you. You know, I do want to just say one thing, too, in terms of just the work that you do and even the work that we all do on some level, particularly when the world has a different view of it, like maybe your son as a drummer, you with theater. I'm thinking about Selma a little bit and the courage it took to produce such a historic piece of film work. And I've listened to some of her interviews about this as well, and she's gotten a lot of flack about it. I would imagine the work that you do, some of the plays that you've put on, I know in particular some of the plays that you've put on are plays that speak to our culture in terms of the African American culture, but just in terms of our lives in general, you deal with some hard topics.
I do.
So to talk about topics like adoption, that's something that's really critical, particularly, you know, with the work that we do and in terms of talking about relationships and building those relationships. So talk to us a little bit about the courage it takes to be able to do a piece of work that is significant, whether it has historical value or whether there are things that are going on in our communities at present, that you're going to speak to this work in hopes that it will spark attention?
I mean, I like I said, I sit with a piece of work. Before I do anything, it'll come across my desk or in my email, or it'll come through the mail or something. I will sit with that piece of work, and I will read it, I'll put it down, and then I will ask, what is it that I need to do with this piece?
You will ask, who will you ask that?
I just put it out in the universe, and I say, what is it that I have to do to make this come to fruition? What speaks to me about it? What is its message? I always do a play with a message, because there's so much going on in our world today, and we as people need to be mindful of everything that's happening, because our children, our future is affected by it. And so when I look at a piece, I sit with it. And like I said, I get up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and my brain I start writing stuff down about what I'm thinking about and what's happening with the piece, and it comes to me.
And so we're going back again to this idea and this notion for us in terms of just sitting with the sacred, because you said, I put it out there. You're sitting in quietness waiting for it to come. And when we're so busy with everything, how can you find creativity? How can you know what to do on whatever your next project is if you can't sit still long enough to listen?
Yeah. You need to
That's
listen.
what you have to be willing to do.
Yeah, and it's not easy for people to sit and listen. It's not, because they're so in technology and this and that and all kind of other things. But for me as a person, I really need to sit with that piece. And that is why Our Father resonated with me through my entire being. And it took me 1.5 years to get that show up on its feet and produced, and it's going to many different places now. But I think that for me, I did what I needed to do, and I'm happy with the end result.
So I hear you using your sacred intelligence all over the place, right? So the first thing you're doing is sitting with that sacred piece, like sitting for you to just sort of listen and being guided, whatever your source is, your universe, whatever you're calling it. What you're saying is I'm sitting in that space. And then the second thing I heard you say as it relates to the selfish piece, because that's how we term it here on this show, is that how does this sit with me? How does it resonate with me? How does it speak to me? And then the shared piece is, what do I want it to do in terms of moving the world, moving the community? Because no man or woman or child or anyone is an island. So we do have to kind of think about all of those pieces, because then it gets to the end result is, what's my message? What am I trying to say? And I believe that whether we're talking about theater or whether we're talking about our businesses, it could be financial businesses, it could be therapeutic, whatever our businesses or our goals or our passions that we have to be willing to tap into those 3 things, our sacred, selfish, and shared relationships, in order to be the best at what we are.
Because what we do is we're not doing it for us. We're doing it for everybody else but us. Because we're all connected, and whatever we do, whatever I do to her, has an ultimate effect on the next person. If I was mean to her, she's going to go back out and she's going to be mean to somebody else. And it's going to have this wonderful ripple effect.
Or not so wonderful.
Right, right. But if we could do as much love through what we do and have that come out on the other side as love, what kind of world would we live in? It would be an entirely different world.
Of course.
And so what I do through theater is love. Love for myself, love for my people, love for my being, love for my creator. I mean, my spirit resonates in what I do. And so the people that come to Emerson Theater Collaborative, their spirit also resonates, because they too are a part of it.
Do you talk to them about that? Do you talk to them about bringing their whole being and selves into it?
Yes. I say to them, I say, if you're not here, where are you? We're here to create. I need you to be part of this process. And so we do sit, we play theater games, we sit in quiet sometimes, just so that we can be centered as a group, because we're working together.
I imagine that must be hard initially, if they aren't used to it, coming to sit in quiet.
Sure, and I say to them, if you're not used to being in quiet, I understand. Be as you are. And usually they settle in, and we just sit for a moment, and then we get started. Because we need to be centered in order to do the work we need to do. We can't have our minds in 20 different places when we create.
So Camilla, tell me how that works with children, because I know that you have a 6-week summer program
I
that you do
do,
with children.
yes.
So for children who are coming in and they certainly aren't used to sitting in quiet, and as many of them are not, tell me how that works. How do you get them inspired to sit in quietness and being able to channel their energy?
Children are different. Children are the conduit for us as adults to be quiet.
Really?
Because sometimes, sometimes the kids, they bring this energy, creative energy with them, and they're ready when they come to create because they listen. They're so untainted in so many respects. They come in, okay, Miss Camilla, we're ready to create. What are we doing today? They have so much energy. They make you want to be involved in it. But then again, at 12 o'clock, they get a nap. So I give them downtime.
What are the ages of the children?
From 4 to 17.
Okay.
So they get a nap. They have lunch and they take a 30-minute nap.
Even the older ones.
Yeah. It's
That's
quiet.
my kind of
It's a-
program
It's a
then.
nap, or they can read as long as they're quiet. My little ones, they need that downtime because they're running all day, you know what I'm saying? But you need to sit. And it's okay to sit and just be quiet for a moment.
So tell our viewing audience about your 6-week program. How can they get their children signed up for your program? You're currently running it for this coming summer? Are you running
Yes,
it?
we're
Okay.
getting ready to put the applications out. It's a 6-week summer program. The application will be out next week. It'll be on the website at www.emersontheatercollaborative.org, and they can download the application. They can send it in. And so we start in June. We'll start before the school gets out. We start in the evening,
Okay.
so that the kids can get to know each other ahead of time. And then we bring adults in later. So it's sort of the kids and adults together and doing a production. But it's a 6-week great program. The kids, they go on field trips. They learn all about theater, all different aspects of theater, and it's a really fun time. And they get to create and be themselves, for 6 weeks and just have fun. That's
Do they audition for the program?
The kids do not. We'll have them read, the scripts or whatever like that, and we'll figure out what they want to do. But the kids don't audition, but the adults that we bring in do audition. So we'll put audition notices up for the adult to be part of that. But my kids, no kid is denied. Every kid is welcome. And,
Is it limited? So should the viewing audience make sure that they register for the program very early
Yes, because we take about maybe 25 students. That's the max that we can accommodate.
And where do you do this?
At the First United Methodist Church in Mystic.
In Mystic.
Yeah, they are so gracious. They let us start using their space in 2011. And so it's just been a wonderful place to create great theater, and so we're really thankful for them. And the community has come out and been so supportive of the work in which we do as a whole. And
online? That helps, right?
It really does help. I mean, we're a nonprofit. I mean, it's difficult for nonprofits, and so to create and my kids, their 6-week summer program, I go out and I ask businesses to support a scholarship for kids that can't afford to go. And it's a nice thing when the community steps up and says, yeah, we're going to help.
So how much is the program in general? I mean, it may go up this summer, but like what is typically?
It's about $600 for 6
for the
weeks.
6 weeks.
Right. And,
But when you think about summer camps, I mean, what you're paying weekly for summer camps for 6 weeks for $600 is not a huge amount.
No.
I mean, for some people, yes. I mean, but
Yeah.
I understand financially, 600 is 600. But when you think about the cost of camps in general,
Yeah, some camps are like $350 a week. I'm like, really? But it's I'm not going to do that. I want my kids to come in and have a good time. I want my parents to come in and share in what their kids are doing. It's not about the money.
so our viewing audience could donate to.
Yes,
This-
absolutely. If they go on our website, www.emersontheatercollaborative.org, there's a nice donation button there, and we'd love to have the support because our kids deserve that and they need that. And they have, it really is a twofold thing. The kids get to come and experience something they've never done before. And who knows where those things that they're experiencing in the summer are going to lead them. I've had kids come and they're great communicators now. They have confidence. they're starting to understand what they want to be or what they want to do, and they're able to verbalize that. It's
So they don't have
wonderful.
to have any acting experience
No.
when they come through the door. But I'm curious about something. So Mystic is an area that's a little bit more affluent than many of the areas around here, or some of the areas, I won't say many. And so I wonder about our kids who are local from like the New London area, for instance. Do you have many kids who are from there or from
Absolutely.
Norwich? Or
I'm going to tell you, I am so blessed because I have a woman who actually brings the kids from New London and brings them to Mystic every single day.
Okay.
The camp runs on a 4-day schedule, Monday through Thursday. They do a show in July, 3 days of a show, but she brings them every single day. And I am so thankful and so grateful because those kids get to see a different part of life. They get to see, I could have that.
so really there
I
are no
could dream and I
excuses.
could aspire.
There are no excuses, right? So sometimes we want to say I'm limited by resources or I'm limited by transportation. You are making this program, you and your partners are making this program available to any kid who,
Yeah.
if you have the desire to do something, it's really about having that desire first of all.
Yes.
And then let's make it happen.
And I'm going to make it happen because I don't want any kid to go through their summer without something meaningful to do. And it also helps the parents.
Sure.
It gives the parents a down. Some of them are working parents, and daycare is expensive.
Yes.
And I think about those things when I create and design a program for kids because I want the parents also to know that their kids are in a safe environment, for number one. They're nurtured, they're cared for. I mean, we give them 2 snacks, they bring their lunch, they go on field trips, we have fun.
So is it an all-day program?
It's from 9 o'clock in the morning until 3 in the afternoon, late cares till 5.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And the kids are phenomenal, and they're so talented too. Oh my gosh, it's so much fun. I'm so excited about summer because I get to collaborate with my community too. So somebody asked me the other day about having a cooking class with the kids. How fun is that?
That would be great. That would be great.
I mean, it's just fun, and the kids are amazing.
So, who would be your target population for your plays? Do you have any particular group that you're
Well,
trying
I
to
mean, we
market
have a
to?
target audience, but I think, and it's usually women, 35, on up is usually our target audience. But I'll tell you, it really, our shows are such that mostly anybody can come out. Some of them kids, sometimes we put a disclaimer, say, hey, it's not good for kids, and this is the reason why. But the summer program will attach, if we're dealing with issues that the kids are dealing with, we'll write a play about those, and I'll send a letter home to the parents saying, hey, these are the issues that we're going to deal with. These are what the kids are talking about. Would love to have your support. So we put that feedback out there. But it's generally, we have a nice, well-rounded audience, but it's usually, our women are our biggest audience members. I'd love to have more men, that's for sure.
So then you have to put out the call there for
Yes,
these men and for young boys. And
Absolutely.
You've mentioned adults several times. So how does an adult get involved in your theater program?
They can hop on the website. They can call me at 860-705-9711. We have auditions year-round, depending on the show. We've got several shows coming down the pike and several readings that are coming from March onward. And so we just put a submission out for a reading that we're going to be doing in April by screenwriter and playwright James C. Ferguson called Snowbound. And so we just put an audition notice out there, and we see what we get. Sometimes I go to New York and get actors, and it's a fun process.
Okay, come on, Connecticut.
I know, I love the
really,
people.
she doesn't want to have to go all the way to New York. I'm sure there are some budding actors and actresses that are out
absolutely.
here, and you're never too old to
No,
really
I love it.
go out. I mean, I think that would just be absolutely phenomenal, just to go out and to do something that you're passionate about. If you ever thought of being an actor or an actress and you said, oh, I'm too old for that.
But I also want
Not
to put a
too
call
old
to
for it.
parents. It's important that parents bring their children to the theater. It is so important that they do that. Every child deserves to see life on the stage.
So
Because
tell us about when kids and adults come to the theater, how you spoke a little bit about this already, that it imitates life in some way, but how does it help us to connect with one another, just viewing it? how does it broaden our understanding of those who are different or other?
How many people actually talk to their neighbor today?
Very few, I would say.
So the person that's sitting next to you, when you're sitting in a play and you start watching a play, you start communicating first, verbally. Hey, how you doing? What did you enjoy it? You start talking. Intermission comes, you start talking to them, you get to know who they are as a person. And you may decide that you really like this person and you want to get to know them. It brings people together. There's a common bond. When people come to the theater, they come and they want to see this show. And we have discussions after each show. So which really is a wonderful thing, because now we've engaged our audience in the conversation about what they just saw.
Yeah.
So they get to talk to their neighbor and discuss it. And I love that, because it brings people together, and we find that we have more things in common than we have that are different.
And I imagine when you see the plays as well, you think about things you haven't thought about before.
Absolutely.
And I've been hearing, I keep mentioning Selma a lot, and actually I'm going to see it tomorrow. That's my hope. And I know that it's very provocative and very painful. So I know that when we go and see plays and when we go and see movies, we have to be prepared emotionally for what we're going to experience. But it also helps to give us a perspective that we didn't have before.
Yeah, I think it's important. Selma, in particular, since you mentioned that, I think every American should see that movie, because the message that it speaks is so powerful. I mean, I went and I saw it, and what I took away from it, and I'm not, I'm not worried about all its inaccuracies, because the message that it puts out about, for me, was hate. And what hate does. Hate not only kills, it kills the spirit of the one who has killed, and the one who was killed, and the family's spirit.
Sure.
And so when I left, I said to myself, what am I doing as an individual to make sure that I'm not contributing to
That's right.
that?
And I think that that's a valid question, because for those people who get caught up in whether the movie is accurate or inaccurate, those are just distractions. Because do we say that about all the other movies that are out here that Hollywood produces? Do we sit there and say, oh, that's inaccurate, that didn't happen? We say that on some level, but on another, we're like, that was great, and it should get an award for best movie or this or that. And I think it's so important, which is what actually the producer says, that she says, this is her interpretation of that time period, and these are the questions that she had. And so she's presenting it in that way. As a matter of fact, she couldn't use the historical speeches that are there, so she really had to create her own speeches, which is significant because, again, she's tapping into her inner being and she's channeling, this spiritual being, the spiritual part of herself, to create, what was it like for the people who were going through that. So it's amazing, because what you're saying is, let's look at the bigger picture here.
Yeah, I think when we go to the theater, we need to look at the bigger picture. When we go see a film, look at the bigger picture. I am so proud of Ava DuVernay. I am so proud of her, because she stepped out on what she believed in, and she created something that I think all people should see. I mean, I left that movie moved. I left in a different frame of mind than when I came. And I left knowing that the people that were sitting in front of me were just as moved. And I could listen to people's and their expressions and bodies, and I could see it. And it was powerful. And I think when you create something like that, that's so powerful, people need to take a look at that.
And I think, so what's interesting, because I know that we probably share this similar thought, but I know as a minister, one of the things that we're taught in the ministry is that we are to afflict the comfortable and to afflict the comfortable and to comfort the afflicted. And I think movies are the same way, and plays are the same way. You should leave a different person than when you came in, because if you are comfortable and comforted with all that's going on in our society now, and
Absolutely.
you don't pay attention to that, and you think, oh, that's just your opinion, this really doesn't exist, right? Racism doesn't exist. Sexism doesn't exist. Homophobia doesn't exist. If you think that these things don't exist and you're just comfortable living in your world, then you're closing your eyes to it. And I think that the work that you do and so many others are doing out there is that you're opening our eyes to that. And, you know, I think that for Susan and I, who work with people every day, we can speak to what's happening because they're coming in our offices and
Yeah.
sharing this. But we are working with individuals one-on-one, and we're helping them to heal from that. But I think that there's healing in the work that you do.
Yeah, theater does heal. I believe that with everything I am, that theater heals. And it allows people to look inside themselves and actually see a new side of themselves that they didn't experience before. When I do a show and I see a patron and they're emotional, or they leave crying because it affected them, I'm honored to have done my job. And I thank the universe for that, because I'm able to affect change in an instant. And if I know that it's a good change, I have done my job. And I'm happy with that. You know, I can't say to a playwright, you know, I just didn't think I did the right thing. You know, I want to do it justice, and I want people to come in and see it and own it. Mm-hmm. Whatever that message is for them, take it out and take that what you need from it and change who you are because of it. Mm-hmm. Because our world is so chaotic, it is so messed up, and our kids so need whole people.
They do.
To help shape them. Yeah. And I want to be a part of that. I want to be able to shape a kid's life and say, this is who you can become if you work hard, if you believe in yourself, if you love yourself just as who you are. You don't need to change your physical.
Well, I tell you, I'm feeling it right now. But I feel your passion as you're talking.
I love what I do.
I can tell that you love what you do, and I'm just sitting here thinking about, wow, this started at 12. And this is what I want to make sure that our viewing audience knows, was particularly when you're looking for your purpose, go back to that place where you felt very passionate about. Go back to that freeing place.
And that's what I love being a kid. Yeah. I do. I love being a kid because it's a playground for me. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Theater is a playground, and I get to experience everybody else's life. And it's a learning place for me too. I'm constantly learning, and my kids are teaching me, and my adults that come through teach me all the things that I thought I could never see. Mm-hmm. You know, it's amazing what theater can do. And so when I have a community that comes out and sits in my seats and supports us, and I need that. We're 7 years old in April, and we're just now getting our footing, and I am thankful for each and every person that has come and sat in those seats, because without them, we could not share that message. Yeah. And I feel that, and I am thankful to be able to do what I love.
So, Camilla, our time is quickly passing here. So I just wondered, before we go, what words of wisdom that you would have to a young person or an adult as well, but I'm really just kind of thinking about a few young people that I know who are interested in acting and directing. What would you tell them about pursuing their dreams and sticking to it?
To thine own self be true is what I say. My father instilled that in me, and I want kids to know that. Be true to who you are. And if you want something, do not be afraid to go out and get it. If you fail, pick yourself back up and do it again, because you will eventually get there. So never quit.
Yeah. All right, great. And tell us one more time how to get in touch with you if we're interested in becoming a part of your theater, having our children go, or auditioning. How can we get in touch with you again?
They can check out our website at www.emersontheatercollaborative.org, or they can call me, 860-705-9711.
Okay.
And we thank you.
And that's Emerson, Emerson,
Yes.
Theater
Theater Collaborative.
Collaborative.com.
.org.
.org. Sorry.
Yes.
Make sure that you.
But we
get it
don't
right.
own that domain too.
You do? Oh, okay. So either way, you'll find her. I am so thankful for our guest today, Camilla Ross. I do want to end, as always, with a few golden rules. And today I want to just kind of share in terms of the sacred. We've talked a lot about that in each episode. Honor the source of your energy and your drive. You heard Camilla talking about that earlier, about her passion when she was younger and where this energy comes from. So honor that. Tap into your unique gifts. So you might have multiple things that you enjoy, but what are your gifts? Sit in quietness. We can't say that enough. Sit in quietness, 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 and listen to the sacred source. Own that you've been created to be something powerful, that you have a gift to give to the world, and powerful beyond measure. You may only have a limited thinking about what you're capable of doing, but know that there's much more out there for you. In terms of the selfishness piece, what are you passionate about? We keep saying it over and over and over again. As Joseph Campbell says, follow your bliss. And then find what brings you peace. I think you heard that a bit in terms of what Camilla talked about today. What's going to give you peace? What's going to give you serenity? What is it out there that's going to help you find your centering place as well? And she said it already, to thine own self be true. Be authentic to who you are. What are you called to be? We hear that term used all the time. And accept that the person that you are becoming is shaped by your heartache as well as your joys. So whatever your trials and your triumphs have been, you'll be able to use those throughout. And then finally, in terms of the shared relationships, to connect with your community as always, and be able to help other folks achieve their potential as well. Learn from children, you heard Camilla say that today, and see the value in other people. I do thank you so much for joining us today. I want to thank Camilla Ross again and thank my co-host Susan Bainbridge. Please be sure to watch us each week on MetroCast, and also go to my YouTube channel. Go to my YouTube channel at Sacred Intelligence TV with your host, Dr. Terrell Curry Avery. Please be sure to subscribe to the channel as well, and also visit us at www.sacredintelligence.com. Until next time, we pray and trust that you will have a great week. See you soon.